Alone in the Dark is an ambitious adventure game from Atari's Eden Games studio set in and around New York's Central Park. It follows the tale of a paranormal investigator who wakes up in a burning building. He can't remember who he is or how he came to be surrounded by menacing thugs. He soon learns that his name is Edward Carnby, an F-bomb dropping tough guy who's mixed up in some devilish doings. As he makes his way out of the crumbling skyscraper, he meets up with the feisty Sarah, and they flee into Central Park to uncover the mystery of Edward's background and the secret behind a spooky stone. An amnesiac adventurer fighting demons and researching a mysterious stone.
What's with this fucking stone?
If you were hoping, like I was, for a survival horror game that didn't follow a cliched B-movie storyline full of uninspired dialogue, then prepare to be disappointed. You can count on hearing the words or nearly every time our scarred-up hero opens his mouth, an attempt at gritty realism that comes off instead as adolescent. But it's not really Alone in the Dark's tired storyline that makes it such a disappointment. There are many genuinely inventive ideas at play here, but few of them work as well as they should. As a result, the game feels loosely cobbled together, and the experience ends up being full of inconsistencies, aggravations, and contradictions.
Don't fuck around or I'll shoot you myself.
It's been a point of pride with Eden's developers that they've implemented realistic fire effects in Alone in the Dark, and they have reason to brag. Flames lick the walls to stunning effect, objects catch fire and can be used against enemies, puzzles, especially near the end of the game, make use of the fire's destructive properties, and flames can even help light your way in dark corridors. The problem is, fire is the only way to kill enemies in Alone in the Dark, and it quickly becomes kind of tedious. Sure, there are many different methods you can use, lobbing Molotov cocktails, blowing up cars, torching them with makeshift blowtorches, and touching them with burning furniture, but even your gun is useless against whatever these enemies are. Unless, that is, you pour flammable liquid on your ammunition to create fire bullets. Like most survival horror games, Alone in the Dark has a restrictive inventory management system that limits the amount of equipment you can carry around. It's a tried and true technique used to heighten the tension in monster-infested surroundings. Again, there's an innovative idea in Alone in the Dark with Carnby's jacket, which you open in real time to access your inventory. With a limited number of slots, you'll have to carefully choose what you pick up and what you leave behind. It works on paper, but in practice, it's kind of awkward and annoying. Combining items to make new ones, a central part of the game, is also frustrating. Want to combine a wick with a bottle to make a Molotov cocktail? You can't select the bottle first, it has to be the wick. Inventory management in games like these is usually cumbersome enough without having to delve into a jacket and poke around while monsters are attacking you. It's a shame I had to spend so much time fumbling around in my pockets when Alone in the Dark looks as good as it does a lot of the time. Central Park actually looks great. The buildings are rendered well, the lighting and shadows are nice, and there's some great sweeping panoramic camera work. But it's hard to enjoy the scenery when you're fumbling with the controls, an odd mix of third and first person views. You recognize the classic Resident Evil-like over-the-shoulder view right away. It's serviceable, as is the first person view, but neither works perfectly on its own, and they're both made more frustrating by the fact that the game forces you into one or the other at will. Add combat to the long list of innovative ideas in Alone in the Dark that fail to deliver. Pick up a melee weapon like a shovel or rake, and you'll use the right analog stick to swing it. It should work in theory, but it does end up feeling cumbersome and imprecise, especially when you're trying to use a melee weapon to, say, bust down a door or a wall. In general, the driving in Alone in the Dark is very poorly implemented. The cars have no weight to them, they handle very strangely, and are just not fun to drive. Motoring around in Central Park is usually a chore, just like walking. Add all of the above to the fact that Alone in the Dark just isn't that scary a game, and you have a recipe for a pretty lackluster survival horror experience.
Who said you could talk?
There are some definite positives to Alone in the Dark that are sadly buried beneath bugs, glitches, and some unintuitive puzzles. There's a clever DVD-like menu system that allows you to skip ahead in the game right up to the last level if you like. Doing so brings up a very cool recap segment, similar to what you might see on an episodic TV drama. The soundtrack is also very well done and provides some of the best atmosphere in the game. It gives a real flair of the cinematic. There's a certain amount of old-school adventure charm in Alone in the Dark, and I was very excited to check it out because I'm a big fan of the genre. Adventure/survival horror games are few and far between these days, and I think that's a shame. I really wanted to like Alone in the Dark, but for a long list of reasons, it just wouldn't let me. So despite its crackling fires and big ideas, I just can't recommend Alone in the Dark.